Welcome back, everyone. This is Kylie the Curly Crafter, and now that fall's here, I decided I was going to make some fake cinnamon rolls to start off the season. They are super easy, adorable, and realistic, and if you'd like to see exactly how I made my fake cinnamon rolls, stay tuned in this video and I'll show you exactly how I do so. Let's get started. So for this fake bake, you will need some plain salt, you will need some flour, you will also need a nice mixing bowl, a stirring or mixing utensil, and some measuring cups. I will be showing you guys a salt dough recipe. Depending on how many cinnamon rolls you want, you might want to double or triple the recipe. So I'm going to start off with a half a cup of some salt and also a half a cup of some all-purpose flour. Before moving on, make sure that all of your salt and flour are well incorporated and combined. The last ingredient that you will need is 1/4 cup of warm water. Slowly and gradually mix that into your dry ingredients. Once everything is well mixed together, you should be able to press down until that your dough starts to hold its shape. So now, just to protect your table, I recommend using a piece of parchment paper, and also to roll out the dough, I'm going to use a leveled rolling pin and some gloves just to protect my hands from the graininess of the salt. Now, just to finish mixing it all together, I'm going to use my hands and kind of press it and mold it together into one large ball. Once you think that your dough is ready to be used, just place it onto the parchment paper and then use your rolling pin just to roll out the dough. Once you are confident with the size and smoothness of your dough, we can start making the cinnamon rolls. So I decided just to use one of these really cool Cricut tools to use as the knife for cutting my dough. So I'm going to make a straight line at the very top of my dough, and then I'm going to make another straight line coming down from that one line towards me. Then I'm going to make a slightly smaller line than the one on the top, just on the bottom. And now, because the one is slightly smaller, there's going to be a slight slant that goes back down to the smaller line, so it's kind of like a lopsided rectangle, if you can see what I'm showing you. Once you have your shape cut out, just remove the excess pieces of dough and save that because we will use it to make more cinnamon rolls. So now that I have my dough shape ready, I'm just going to use my fingers and slightly smooth out the edges. For this fake bake, I'm going to be using some cinnamon, but do not worry because it actually repels many different bugs, so it won't attract anything like ants or cockroaches. So what I'm going to do is just take my cinnamon and sprinkle that onto my dough. Now that your sprinkled cinnamon is on, it is time to roll it up. So I'm going to start from the larger edge and roll straight down to the smaller side. Once rolled up, it doesn't really look like a cinnamon roll or cinnabon, so what I'm going to do is cup my hand and slightly flatten it. Just keep playing around with the shape of it until you get to your ideal shape, and then just repeat this process for the rest of your dough. My dough batch made about 5 mini cinnamon rolls. This is how all 5 of my mini cinnamon rolls or Cinnabuns came out. They are super adorable, but since they're still doughy, we are going to need to harden them in the oven. So what you're going to need is your baking pan, and also lined with a piece of parchment paper. Now just evenly spread out all of your mini Cinnabuns on the piece of parchment paper. Before placing these into the oven, make sure that you preheat your oven to 250 degrees Fahrenheit. Once your oven is fully preheated, then you can pop in your tray of fake Cinnabuns, and then you can bake them for about 2 to 3 hours. I baked mine for 2 hours because mine were on the slightly smaller size. For a quicker cooling process, I just transferred them over to a wired cooling rack to finish cooling down. Next, we are going to give our fake Cinnabuns a little fake baked appearance. So what you're going to need is some water, a paper plate, and also some paint. I decided to use the Waverly chalk paint in the shade Hazelnut. So now, to make these look like they just came out of a nice warm oven, what you're going to need to do is just take any type of paintbrush and dip it in your water. Then you're going to take it and dip a small bit of paint onto it and brush it around the edges where it would be baked in the oven. This just gives it more definition and makes it look more realistic, and kind of gives it like a light brown toasted wash. We are also going to define where the cinnamon was again once more. So what you're going to need once again is some cinnamon and also some satin Mod Podge. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take another small paintbrush and some Mod Podge, and I'm going to paint that around the swirl of the Cinnabon and even on the edge where the ending stops. So just dip your paintbrush in the Mod Podge and put it anywhere where you think cinnamon would be on a real Cinnabon. Now all you have to do is apply the cinnamon to the areas that you think the cinnamon would be located. So I just like to sprinkle on the cinnamon and then dump it upside down and tap off the excess. If there is too much on the top, you can just wipe it off and it'll fall into the crevices and give you a nice Cinnabon look. Just to prove to you guys how much of a difference it makes, this is what it looks like when you add extra cinnamon versus when you do not. I've seen a lot of pictures of people's fake cinnamon rolls all over the internet, but I've never really seen anybody with the best type of fake icing. I'm going to show you guys my favorite way though. So what I use is just a bottle of some gloss Mod Podge and some regular white craft paint. When pouring in my paint, I like to fold the piping bag just to prevent any messes. So after my piping bag is open, I actually just took the whole bottle of gloss Mod Podge and squeezed it into the piping bag. So this is actually like an 85 to maybe 15% ratio. I did mostly all Mod Podge and like 2 drops of white paint, because I wanted it to be, when it dried, just a clear, opaque type of white, not fully see-through, but also not fully where you can't see through it at all. So I found that this is the best ratio. So after I added in my few drops of white paint, I just used the piping bag here to use as a mixing source, and just kind of kneaded the piping bag together to mix in the Mod Podge and craft paint together. This part can get pretty messy, so I highly suggest you use some type of protection for your table. All I decided to do again was just use a piece of parchment paper and placed all of my fake cinnamon rolls on top. Once you are ready to ice your fake cinnamon rolls, just cut off a small part of the tip of your icing bag, and then just do a little test so you get the hang of how it comes out of the bag. Once you are ready, just squeeze it and slowly do a zigzag motion over each cinnamon bun, and then it creates this really nice drizzled on icing effect. So they are super easy to make, and that is all it really is. The hardest part, in my opinion though, is just having to let it dry 4 to 6 hours to make sure that it is fully dry before decorating. I enjoyed making my fake cinnamon rolls and I really like them, and if you'd like to buy these instead of make them yourself, there will be only one set available on my Etsy shop, so don't forget to go check it out. My shop is called the Curly Crafters Cakes, and there will also be a link down in the description. I hope you guys liked this video and liked making these fake cinnamon rolls with me. If you liked the video, give it a big thumbs up and subscribe down below. Thank you guys for watching, and bye everyone!